I will try not to be too doom and gloom, but really just think of this as I'm arming you with the information you need to make great decisions leaving this meeting. I'm not going to spend too much time on these maps, but just to say that this is a resource on our website that you can look at. We have updated precipitation and temperature normals maps for the entire state. We have it broken down by month or annually, and you can look at all of those there. And so I kind of wanted to show how these normals that I just described change over time. So NOAA's National Centers for Environmental Information updates our normals every decade, and they do it on a 3-decade window. So we just very recently had an update to our normals for the 1991 to 2020 period. And we were previously using the 1981 to 2010 period. And the reason we do this is so that we know that we're comparing what we are currently experiencing to the most recent climate. Okay, so what we have on the upper left-hand corner is the annual precipitation normal for the entire state of Colorado and how that's changed with each changing decade. So the last bar is our 1991 to 2020 normal, and you will see that it is drier than the last two 30-year normals we have. And for those of you who have been here long, you know that we had quite a bit of wet periods in the 1980s and in the 1990s. As we dropped off the 1980s and 1990s, we're getting a little bit drier, and you can see that in the annual average precipitation normal. When you look at the temperature, basically since the 30s, we are seeing a very consistent warming. So one thing to note is that driest normal that you will see on there, I think it's 1951. I can't read it, but that driest normal on there is drier than what we experience, but it was cooler than what we experience, and that's important to note. So here's an example of a monthly breakdown at a specific location. I picked one of our sites at Mesa Verde National Park. And what I see here is the precipitation normals are broken down by each month. The lighter green was the previous normal for 1981 to 2010, and then the dark green is the new current normal that we are using for comparison. And so you can see that they pretty much match on the seasonal cycle, where we're going into the drier season now. As April, May, and June, those monthly precipitation totals get a little bit less. And then there's a big spike in July and August as we expect that monsoon precipitation to kick in. But what you will notice is that it is slightly less than it was for that 1981 to 2010 period. We know that overall, when we're talking about a changing climate, that our precipitation is pretty variable. There's a lot of noise, so it's really hard to say with any certainty what direction our overall precipitation is headed in terms of the future compared to the historic record, but we do know that we're having warm temperatures. And so I'm looking at two graphs here, and this is for the entire San Juan Basin, which encompasses the Four Corners region. And on the left side is the 6 months ending in December for a precipitation index. So anytime you see the red, you're looking at anomalously dry. When you see the blue, you're looking at anomalously wet. So a lot of variability. Now the graph on the right is for that same time period, but looking at temperature. And so when you combine those, you get drought conditions that are exacerbated. So your wet periods aren't as beneficial and your dry periods are a little bit worse. And that's what happens when you combine both the variability from the precipitation and the warming temperatures. So some of the things that we know we will experience with warmer temperatures is that we're shortening that snow accumulating season. We know that the snow melt will start earlier and melt faster. It also results in a drier atmosphere. So not just the ground, but the air above is also drier. And this increases evaporative losses, and it can dry out the soils faster. This is a look at the U.S. drought monitor across time for the entire upper Colorado River Basin. The U.S. drought monitor started in 2000, so it's not a really long record, but when we look at the upper Colorado River Basin, we see drought quite frequently. Now the red color is a D3, and this is showing the percent of the basin that is covered in it. So when it goes all the way to the top of the graph, that's 100% of the basin is in that D3 category, like you see back in 2002. D3 is a 1 in 20 to 1 in 50 year event. D4 is the maroon color, and that is considered a 1 in 50 to 1 in 100 year event. Now looking at this map, you will notice that the upper Colorado River Basin in the past 20 years has experienced 4 of these. Here's where we currently stand on the U.S. Drought Monitor map. Actually it's a week off, but not really anything changed. But you can see that we do have a little bit of D3 in the southern part of our state, and some of that is a little bit short-term, but a lot of it is long-term effects. Looking forward, I just want to do a reminder for everybody. I put a little point on this map from the Climate Prediction Center that shows what we're going to be expecting over the next season, and unfortunately for the region we're looking at, is very likely we will have warmer than average temperatures, and also more likely that we will have drier than average conditions. So the forecast is we're all going to die and there will be no one left to remember our stories. And with all that doom and gloom, I hope to bring on some happier news after me. So thank you.